This is my Module 4 on students and the law. Uh, Made it up to present like I would present at our teacher in service coming up in August. The first couple slides were just kind of general overviews about our rules and regulations that we have at Lakeside High School. Talk to the teachers about why we have them and how and when do we want to enforce them. Talk about the fact that we have power, but like the text says, not absolute power. We'll talk about student responsibility, what they're here for, and what we want to get the most out of them and how we want to do that. And then we'll talk about administration and faculty and staff responsibility. There I just put providing a safe and suitable environment for students to receive education. We need to enforce the rules and regulations to ensure that this is accomplished. And then, I'll reiterate to them that I will support them so long as their actions are appropriate and in line with our district policy and what we want to accomplish. The first one just kind of went through a few of them from the text. Not all of them really applied to our school. We don't have a school newspaper and some other issues, but just freedom of expression. Just talked about reasonably protected by the First Amendment and does not protect students when expression leads to disruptions of the education process. And that's what I talked a lot last year with teachers about, was making sure we knew what we valued as the educators and making sure that value was kind of formed around the education process and the learning environment. Dress code, which seems to be, at least at our school, kind of a hot button topic. Some teachers, I think, base their violations of dress code more on their own personal beliefs maybe than again, what we should value in an educational system. We may not agree with what some of the students wear, but as long as it's not disrupting the rest of the student body. I know I've talked to a couple of administrators up here, one of which actually was taken to court over a dress code violation, and the court ruled in favor of the student. So definitely something you need to be careful about. But I don't know that we have too many problems. We kind of make it clear to the students, what we expect, and they do a good job of following that. Something I went back here on the first slide here to dress code. At a smaller rural school like ours, I like for teachers to contact myself as the administrator if they believe a dress code violation has occurred. I don't really want it left, I guess, in their hands. I'll kind of take the final decision there. And if it's something that we don't end up addressing, I'll talk to the teacher about why we didn't. If it's a female student, a lot of times our counselor will handle that. Our counselor is a female, and so kind of, again, based on liability and stuff, we let her deal with female student dress code issues. But they're brought to our attention before they're brought to the students. So no one teacher's kind of addressing all the dress code violations. And then, again, something that kind of came up last year, appearance and hygiene. Had some issues at school with some students' hygiene that we kind of had to address. We used our school nurse to help us with that. But again, as I bulleted there, we kind of tried to do it with as much, discreetly as possible. We didn't want to make the student uncomfortable or embarrassed about the situation. And so that's how we went about that. Search and seizure, again, something that I learned a lot about last year in my first year as a building administrator. Had some instances where we went through this, and reading the text, I think for the most part we did it by the book and did a good job. I did have to call law enforcement in one time in a situation where the search and seizure had to kind of go beyond our scope. And so I contacted parents and both law enforcement in that situation, and ended up being dealt with, I think, in the appropriate manner and with all appropriate parties responsible being contacted. Obviously, again, going back with search and seizure, we'll talk to the faculty and staff about, in this instance, we want to be contacted, like I put down there, for not only your safety as the faculty and staff, but the students' safety. Cell phones and other electronic devices. Last year was the first year we changed our policy at our high school to allow students a little bit of freedom with their phone. There's a couple designated times during the day, and then the lunch hour that students can use the phone. A lot of the accountability and responsibilities put on the students to make sure they're used in the appropriate manner. when not used in the appropriate manner or when being used when it's not allowed. Students' phones are brought to the office. In past, teachers would confiscate the phone and bring it to the office kind of at their convenience. Now we've talked about teachers contacting me and I'll come to the room and take the phone. That way it's not left with the teacher, and then you know, that kind of just opens the door again to other issues. Punishment. The biggest thing, make sure the punishment fits the crime. You know, we don't want to punish grades for behavior issues. And that's what detention and school suspension and other avenues are for. The text mentioned corporal punishment, and I've actually had a couple teachers mention that because they know that it's illegal in Kansas, but obviously we're not going to use that at our school. And again, you know, in terms of punishment, when in doubt, ask. Don't be afraid to contact me, and we can talk about you know, what the violation occurred and how the punishment should be handed out. Bullying, harassment, again, another kind of hot button topic here in Kansas. It's been a big issue, and I think probably nationwide, really, the last couple years for sure. Again, it's been made clear to our faculty and staff and our student body that this type of behavior will not be tolerated here. When any instances of this type of behavior reported immediately, so it can be handled, documented, and dealt with. If there's ever a question, you can, our bullying policies in our district handbook for anybody that needs assistance. And it's another one of those issues where, you know, when in doubt, ask somebody else, consult with somebody else, and make sure that the right decision is being made. Suspected child abuse and neglect. Last year we had an in-service. Our final in-service of the year was related to this topic. One thing that our district had done in the past is if a teacher or staff member had a concern, they would contact administration, and then the administration would be the one to make the call to the appropriate agency reporting this abuse or neglect. And we were told at our in-service last year that's not the way it should be done. The teacher who believes that something needs to be reported is the one that needs to report that. We still want them to contact administration, and if they feel comfortable, we can be with them when they make the report. But the agency that did our in-service said that to kind of keep everybody's everything in line, that the person who suspected the behavior needed to report it and not pass it on down the line, so to speak. Final thoughts that I would give at the in-service. You know, with any potentially legal matter, please contact administration. If you have any questions, we like to use our resources through the Service Center and the Kansas Association of School Boards, and we want to make sure that we're doing things by the book and the way they're supposed to be done. We want our students to know that you know, that they're obviously protected in the school, but at the same time, if there are behaviors or actions of concern, they're going to be dealt with in the appropriate manner. And you know, finally, any and all decisions we're going to make are going to be based on providing a safe and learner-friendly environment for our student body. Thank you.